Right, in this video we have the present perfect continuous or the present perfect simple. This video is about how to tell the difference between the two tenses and when we should use each one. The first example here is Lucy has been studying for 7 years, and in this one Lucy has studied for 7 years. You see here that we have the present perfect continuous or the present perfect progressive, as it's sometimes called, and here we have the present perfect simple. In both cases they're using for to then lead us onto a period of time or a length of time of 7 years. Now when this is the case, when you have a nice simple sentence here and you're just trying to show the length of time that someone's been doing something, there's no real difference, so we can say no real difference between the two tenses, so either one's perfectly okay. Next example, Lucy has been working as a physicist since 2001. Lucy has worked as a physicist since 2001. Here we have, of course, in yellow again the continuous form, and in purple the simple form. Here we've taken used the word since to attach a point in time, 2001 being a single point in time rather than a length of time or a period of time. Now again, when you use it in this particular for this particular function, there's no real difference. So we can write that again, no real difference. In this particular case, we'll show other more difficult cases in a moment. So let's now let's move up a bit, look at the next one, which is how long. So how long has Lucy been working on this project, and how long has Lucy worked on this project? We've used how long here to ask the question for, the amount of time, the length of time, the period of time. So just as we saw in the first example with using for and then a length of time, the question will also be very similar grammatically in that it won't matter which one you use. So again, there's no real difference in this case. Let's now look at a more complex case. So this time we have the sentence, Lucy has been designing a cold fusion nuclear reactor. And the other one, Lucy has designed a cold fusion nuclear reactor. Now, there's a few things that we could say here. The ing form, so the first one, the continuous form, present perfect continuous in yellow, indicates here many possible things. So there is a significant difference between these two sentences. So the present perfect continuous, the yellow here, could indicate that it's not finished, that it's recently finished, or it could be just a short-term arrangement, or that is to say something temporary. So that would mean that if we use the present perfect simple in this particular sentence, we would think that it's completed. Whereas in the first case, it could be completed, but recently. It could not be completed, not finished. Or it could just be a short-term or a temporary situation where she may even leave the project before it's completely finished. So there is quite a difference here. Let's look at the next example. I have been walking in the rain, that's why I'm wet. You couldn't have put the present perfect simple here. You do need the present perfect continuous in this case because of this piece of information here. And what we have here is an obvious result in the present. You're wet right now, you're standing in front of somebody and water's dripping off you. So when you use this tense, you'll say, I have been walking. That will indicate that you've recently finished walking in the rain, and that's why you're wet with this present evidence. To say I have walked in the rain means an experience that you've had in the past, which would not fit well with this present evidence that you have here, or a present result, obvious result in the present. So we'll make a note here that we want to use ing in this case to show that there's an obvious result. It's recently finished. With an obvious result in the present. Obvious result in the present. Okay, moving to our next situation. Move that up to the top. So Arthur has been living in Melbourne for 6 months, and Arthur has lived in Melbourne his entire life. I've changed the length of time, or the period of time here. You're using 4 again. This one is being 6 months, a shorter term, whereas his entire life is obviously would presumably be a much longer term. So that gives you an idea of the difference here. And the difference, of course, is that the first one would appear to be short term. So I'll put number 1 here. So if that's number 1 is more like a short term or temporary situation. And the second one would be more likely to be a long term or permanent situation. Moving to the next example. Luca has been spending winter in Bali. In this particular case, to express the meaning that we have here, you could not have used the present perfect simple, because what we're looking at here is a repeated action. By using the present perfect continuous here, we're saying that he's not done it once. He's not spent just one winter in Bali, but many winters in Bali. So it's a repeated action in the past. Whereas Luca has spent winter in Bali would probably indicate just once. So that's the difference in the tense use here, as this suggests multiple times. And so we can simply note that we have a repeated action here. And it would obviously be in the past. Okay, let's go to another example. Sorry. Okay, so here we go. This is the first time William has visited Indonesia. We could not have used this is the first time William has been visiting Indonesia. The reason that we can't do this is because of what I've written in pink here, the first time. Whenever you use expressions like the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and so on forever, you would need to use the present perfect simple. So because we have used the first time here, means that we cannot use the present perfect continuous. So it's this particular expression, and of course it could have been the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and so on. So present perfect simple must be used with this. Next one. Roger has been scoring a lot of goals this match, and Roger has scored 7 goals this match. The difference here, I'll just move that up to the top. The difference here is that we're actually concerned in this case with an activity, whereas in this case we're more concerned with the result. You see how that we've indicated a number of items here. Normally that would be used with the present perfect simple when we're indicating number of something, number of books written, number of goals scored, and so on. So the emphasis, by using ing here, the present perfect continuous here, the emphasis there is more on the activity than the result. This is a very fine line here, and some people have trouble. But you could basically look at the number of items that have been indicated would suggest present perfect simple. Next one. So here is a nice overview of the rules themselves. If you wanted to put all that I've said into or most of what I've said into a statement. Here we have Martin Hewings has said, we use the present perfect continuous to talk about an action in progress in the past for a period until now, which is either still in progress or recently finished. And I've put this into a diagram so that you can kind of see it. Let's look at it now. So here we have the present, and this time frame here is the past. You can see that in both cases we have an action in progress in the past for a period of time until now. So an action in progress in the past for a period of time until now. So here is now. This one's ending just before now. So we have two different options here. We have one that is still in progress, which is this case here, number one, or recently finished. So it's finished just before now. So if you can see these two setups, then you have the right, I guess you could say, to use present perfect continuous. And that's all for now.